All right, how many of you feel like you're getting dipped this weekend? Say hoorah. Hoorah. I can't hear you. Say hoorah. Hoorah. One more time, hoorah. Hoorah. All right. First of all, I have to apologize. I was under the intention I'd have about an hour to speak because I want to talk about passion and purpose and then move into some marketing. And I've got maybe about 23 minutes on stage. So what I want to do is share with you what I believe is the underlying template that each and every doctor that I coach worldwide needs to have in order to use the simple things like marketing. And for those of you who want the rest of that PowerPoint, I'm more than happy to give it to you at the back after this presentation. So a number of weeks ago, I was doing some sled pulling. I do CrossFit, and I was working out, and I was doing some sled pulling. If you ever sled pull or do heavy CrossFit, sometimes you can hit a wall, you can hit a barrier. Has anyone ever experienced that before? Raise your hands. And I was hitting this barrier, and I didn't feel like pulling that sled anymore, and I looked up, and at the back of the gym was this saying. And it says, the difference between who you are and what you want to become depends on what you do today. And when you look at this quote, is it not true that Oprah Winfrey could have stayed where she was and not become the great lady, the great visionary, the great person she is today? Is that a possibility, yes or yes? And many of us as chiropractors sometimes feel like we're shackled, like we don't have the guidelines, we don't have the purpose, we don't have the passion to get out from where we are and to have greatness. I'm listening to Sharon. She goes, I have multiple practices. I said, good for her. She's helping people all over the place. She's helping chiropractors around the world. And how many of us have dreams and inspirations to have greatness in our lives? Anyone here? Just 4 of you. Okay. You know what? Because here's what I believe. To get underlying, I want to share a new word with you. I want you to write this word down. This was given to me by a good friend of mine, Paul Reid, not related, another brother from another mother, but he said this one word called compassionate. And he says, in life, you will make your breakthroughs when you shift from passionate to compassionate in your belief system. And what compassionate means is that you're compassionate about serving others, and yet you're pissed off. Write that down. I'm passionate and yet pissed off. What I mean to say is that you're on fire. You're so gung-ho about making a difference in the world and living to your full potential that you no longer become worried about you. You no longer become worried about what the doctor down the road will say, what your governing board will say. You no longer are egotistic, but you elevate to a different level. We call that becoming spirit-centric, where you find greatness in your lives. Because ultimately, all of us want something that looks like this, yes or no? Raise your hand if every doctor in this room wants to have a busier office and impact more people. Fantastic. So how do we do that? How do we go to the next level? And here's why. I'm all about profitability, meaning you work hard, you're talking tick, you're spreading the word, you're out there serving people to your maximal physical, mental, and spiritual capability, and yet the unfortunate part is that sometimes as we as chiropractors are making up about half as much as the drug dealers are, the pharmacists. And for those that take care of feet, you'll see podiatrists make twice as much as us. That is the average in 2014. Now, how many of you will no longer stand for that and believe that we as doctors should have abundance in our lives? Fantastic, so I'm talking to the right group. So I want you to write this down. Jill said take pen and paper. I love to leave you with nuggets. You can walk out of here because here is a sequence that I believe that doctors must have in order to have greatness in their lives. And you have to be able to start with vision. Your vision has got to be so profound, so massive, that you walk around and that's all you think about. The universe wakes me up at 4:54 every morning. I look at the clock, and there it is. Before my alarm goes off at 5, it says 4:54. And I know that's the universe telling me it's time to get up and live your purpose and your vision. And then you have to have purpose, passion, and the principle. You got to know why you do what you do. Your why's got to be so great, you've heard this before, that the how takes care of itself. But the underlying aspect to all of this is hunger, is having the passion to want to do it, to live it. Like Oprah Winfrey, going from being raped at the age of 9, losing a child at the age of 14, being black and female, and always being told no. And yet, she's living a legacy now. Is this lady making a difference for young people around the world? Yes or no? And I look at this army of 90,000 chiropractors worldwide, 90,000 chiropractors, and I just say to each and every chiropractor, if you can get hungry, you get on fire. Like Guy Rickman said during the break, get on fire and people come watch you burn, then you'll be able to serve as many people as you possibly can in your practice. And with that, you have to have threshold rules, rules that you abide by in your practice, your guidelines. And of course, massive action steps in marketing. Now, I'm very fortunate, I've been very blessed to have multiple coaches over 24 years in practice and practice management, and to be able to learn from some of the best. From internet-based marketing, Dr. Reid was actually one of my coaches back in the old days with Joe Felicia. And I remember going to his ranch. If you haven't experienced that, you need to do so. And then you got to reinvest in yourself. Come out to Life Vision. Support life. Get behind a vision and a cause. And of course, along that way, pave your own path for your legacy. Starts with you, doesn't it? You have to know what you want in life, but it has to first start with who you want to become. And that is usually laid down by your value system. Every decision you make is based on your value system. And then you apply the do. What do I need to do in order to have? And then it's your business model. And around that, your universe, the legacy that you want to leave, the family that you have behind it. So what does it take? What does it take to go from this level where you're at right now? Now, how many people here feel innately that they're sort of stuck in a rut? That there's some way, I've got to get out of this rut in order to move to the next level. Anyone feel that way? Sometimes we're just cruising, aren't we? We feel like we're cruising or we're in a rut. Look at these people here. I want you to shout out one characteristic that as soon as you look at this picture, you see a face up there, you see a name, shout out a characteristic of these people. Say it again. Bold. What else do you see? Sorry? Fearless. Innovative. Action. What else? Dedicated. Margaret Thatcher refusing to allow the Falklands to fall under the Argentine army. You know, you see Steve Jobs. Raise your hand if you own an Apple product. Raise your hand if you own it. Look around the room. You know, Mahatma Gandhi, Kennedy, Rosa Parks. They all had a principle. They stood on a principle. They were not allowing to refuse that principle to be bent. They had a vision in life. This guy here, was he a visionary? If you know Walt Disney's story, in 1920, he's sitting on a corner in Burbank, California, broke. He's got $10 in one pocket, and the other pocket, he's got a cartoon character. Who was it? Mickey Mouse. And he knocked on doors of 15 different companies. It was the 16th company, Lance Cartoon Studios, that said, we'll allow you to come in. They gave him a job. And the rest is history. But you see, Walt had a vision. Just like you have to have a vision for your life. And you got to be able to go through the walls. You got to be able to go over the walls. You got to be able to go under those walls to have a vision. I have a vision for my life. And do I have challenges? Oh, come have a beer with me and bring the Prozac. Because I got challenges in life. But you know what? I focus on the vision. And when he died, the reporter said to his brother Roy, he says, it's too bad Walt didn't get to live to see the vision. He says, are you kidding me? Walt already saw the vision up here. So I want you to write this down. If you are weak in one of these key areas, this is one of the key areas that you need to strengthen in your practice in order to excel at the next level. I've coached hundreds of doctors worldwide, and vision is central to everything, from your financials to your organization, which is your team. Do you do team training? To your sales and marketing. Do you have a marketing program that allows a magnetic attraction of new patients to come into your practice? Do you have clinical and technology like the subluxation station or ChiroTouch? And do you have systems where you can predictably take patients that come into your practice, give them the Ritz-Carlton experience, and move them through day 1, day 2, predictably to move to lifetime wellness care? Because here's what I believe. This is the chiropractic wellness practice of tomorrow. These are the aspects. I sat in a Chateau Laurier in 1996 with Pat Gentempo, and we talked about this. He says, Mike, what do you think the wellness practices of tomorrow? And this is it right here. Everything from the technology to family to service-oriented to volume-based to being subluxation-based. Yes or no? How many of you agree with that? Subluxation-based, and cash is the way to go as well. I don't teach insurance. I don't know what insurance is. I teach cash, fair exchange. So here's the question. What is your calling? What is your vision in life? Do you innately know what it is? And as Jill Marsh said, could you actually dictate your business mandate and your life mandate? Do you know what it is? And does that get you inspired every morning? Here's a great book to read. If you haven't read this book by Carmen Gallo, I picked this up after I listened to Dr. Reikman talk about this. Only 3% of people are dedicated to designing the life of their dreams. Only 3%. How many of you are dedicated to designing the life of your dreams? By raise of hands. Wonderful. So let me share with you how this works. This is a very interesting lady. This is a lady that actually challenged the Supreme Court so that women could play hockey with the men. And she won because she had a vision in her life. And Dr. Justine came to me in 2000, seeing about 30 patient visits a week. And I took her by the hand and I showed her how to create a vision and procedures. She now adjusts about 800 patient visits per week on her own. Pretty impressive practice. And when I asked her one day, I said, Justine, what was the secret to your success in life? What made you so successful? And she stood up in the chair and she says, Mike, you told me that I should see my vision, if not weekly, at least daily. And I run a boot camp called The Master Within. We take your watch, we put you in the bush with me, and for 3 days, from 6 a.m. till 12 midnight, we get clarity in your vision and where you want to be in 1, 3, 5, 10, and 20 years. And that vision is written out in a red book, like a life book, if you've done life book. And Justine mapped out everything that she wanted. She had tears of inspiration. She said, when I wrote this, I could clearly see the vision I wanted in my life. And she says, I knew nothing was going to stop me. She goes, if I can beat the Supreme Court, I could do anything in life. And I said, well, why were you able to see 800 and your husband, he just didn't really build a practice of his dreams, like the practice that, she says, Mike, he says, he went and he slept for those 4 hours. And I was in the bush writing down my vision, and you told me to look at it weekly to keep me on track. Is it possible that we can be distracted by shiny new things in our lives, yes or no? And we tend to do one of these. We go, squirrel, and we're over here. Anyone ever done that before? I know I have. Absolutely. Number 2 is you got to get on purpose, hungry, and compassionate. I have a policy in my practice that we check all children. Write this down, that you have a policy in your practice that you check all children. And this is a little drawing by Samantha. Her father was under care, and he comes up to me, he says, Mike, he says, I didn't tell you about this because we had the divorce thing. I have a little girl. Her name is Samantha. She's 12 years old. And she's in a special school with special children, and they want to put her on 4 new experimental drugs. I said, Kevin, I'm so sorry. Bring her in. Let me check her. Because I know if she's subluxated, and I turn on the power, that innate power will allow her to express her maximal potential. That's what we do as chiropractors. He understood that. So he went around the mom, brought her in. I remember we scanned her. She was red. Her whole neck was just red. She lit up the screen. It was Christmas 2006. And I adjusted that little girl. And you have to remember, she's this beautiful blonde girl. She's 12 years old. And she's sort of like is a space cadet. She's looking around. She's almost autistic-like. And you never know the impact you're going to have on people until you adjust them. And I laid Sam down, and I adjusted her atlas, and it went off like a firecracker. Bang! Now, she had headaches every day in a special school. And she walks over to the table we had for the kids, and she draws this picture right here, and she brings it over to me. And I give all my kids a hug. I do this in my practice. I get on one knee, and I give my kids a hug, because I love kids. They're our future, especially if they're subluxation-free. She came over to me, she says, Dr. Mike, no more headaches. And because I had a policy and I was compassionate and I made it a policy to check children, Sam is now in a regular school with regular children. She's off the drugs and she's healthy. And my practice was very busy. I would see up to 250 people per day, adjusting back and forth. That's what I did. I had a support team. But when I had a child that came in, or a patient says, oh, is that a picture by one of your boys? I said, no, that's Sam, and I'm going to tell you the story. And you'll see tears pour out of the patient's eyes. And next thing you know, I got a flood of kids coming into my practice. And it says Sam, it's got an arrow pointing to Sam. It says from, and then to Dr. Mike. I can't work on the dyslexia, but we worked on the rest of it. All right. I love this quote by Schwarzenegger, one of my heroes. For me, life is continually being hungry. The meaning of life is not simply to exist, to survive, but to move ahead, to go up, to achieve, to conquer. I just had to throw that in because I'm an Arnold fan. I want to show you a quick video here. You guys are almost ready for that video? And the reason why I wanted to show this video to you is a number of years ago, I was reading this article about this spiritual guru. And to move his people from an egocentric to a spirit-centric position, where we get away from the fear, we get away from the uncertainty, we get away from hate and worry, and we move to a spirit-centric level where we can express love and gratitude, and we vibrate at a different level, and we use the law of attraction to bring into our lives versus repel. And this spiritual guru brings his clients to Chile. And back in the mountains, he has this pit. And in that pit, he puts garbage, human excrement, all sorts of crap. And he has you stripped down so that you're naked. It's a real piece of humble pie, isn't it? And you sit in this pit of crap. And they make sure that all that crap goes in all the orifices, and you're just laying in there. And they have you do this for a whole day. So when you come out, they do this to get you to understand the value of life, the purpose of why we're here. It's not about accumulation of all the nice things, but it's about being spirit-centric and being a sage or guru, as Wayne Dyer talks about, that type of person that is here to change the world. So the closest I come to this is I bring, every year, 6 to 12 doctors. I take them down to Santo Domingo in Dominican Republic. We have a group down there called Edie. And Edie allows us, they actually help us out. They get vans and pickup trucks. And we'll go to a clinic, a school, a manor home, and they have all the patients lined up, 400, 500, 300 here, 200 there, and all we do is we just light them up. And I want to show this video because we saw a miracle in 2009. Now, I want you to watch the video because this is Dr. Peter Buzik who's adjusting. And why I show this video to you is I want you to understand this. These doctors are hot, they're sweaty. We go from 8 in the morning to 6:30 at night. But it's the child that gets adjusted in this video. And he had an accident at the age of 2, and for the last 10 years he's been in a wheelchair. The MDs said he'll never walk again. But they didn't know about chiropracticos and Masulu, more health. They didn't know about subluxations and innate potential, and that's why we were down there in Dominican. So I want to play this video for you so you have clarity of why, if you haven't done a mission trip in your life, you should do one. So guys, can you play this quick video? Thank you.
much. He's trying to come up. Look, he's trying to put...
No, trata,
Look, he's trying to push himself up.
trata de levantarse.
How many of you feel you could do that too? Absolutely. Find a mission trip, go out and serve. 15,000 people in Carlos got adjusted that weekend. We made an impact in that boy's life when someone gave him no hope. And what do you think happened to these doctors' practices? Everybody. Because there's no more ego. I want to share just one last story with you. I'm a certified fire walker. And the reason why we fire walk at my Master Within is because when doctors see fire, they often think, what? I'm going to get burned. And that represents barriers that we see in our lives that suppress our true potential. And when I walk across the fire, I always walk first, but the second person walk is my son, Pierce. Now, he's 14 years old now, but this is him at the age of 7, and he says, Daddy, I want to come out to the Master Within. I want to walk the fire with you. And when Pierce walks the fire, he does this every time. He freaks the doctors out. He does this. Can't do it. It's okay. Oh, I'm ready. Oh, I just can't do it. And I love to watch physiological responses of doctors who start sweating and having bowel movements. And third time Pierce goes up. He goes, I said, Pierce, look at Daddy. Focus on me. Focus on your vision. He walks across the fire, just like that. It's a 12-foot pit, 4 steps, easy to do. And that night we're debriefing in the cabin. And the doctors are talking about how the fire, what it represented in their lives, and how they were able to break through those fears. And Pierce looks at me, and I said, Pierce, it's 12 at night, and he's still up. Chiropractic baby. Gets adjusted every week. I said, Pierce, what did you see and feel when you saw that fire? He says, well, Daddy, that was easy. He says, my head saw the fire, I felt like I was going to get burned. But he says, when my heart says it was okay, that's when I walked across. And I said, Pierce, what do we call that? He says, Daddy, everybody knows that. That's your Nate talking to you. And I want to leave you with this quote because I'm running out of time, but I want you to write this down. This was given to me by John DeMartini. And this is my favorite quote in the world. I want you to write this down. Please write this down. This will impact your life too. And John said, he says, when the vision and the voice on the inside, write this down, when the vision and the voice on the inside is greater than the voice of the detractors on the outside, that's when you've mastered your life. When the voice and the vision on the inside is greater than the voice of the detractors on the outside, that's when you've mastered your life. When the voice and the vision on the inside is greater than the voice of the detractors on the outside, that's when you've mastered your life. And I hope you guys got something out of the short presentation. I will be at the back. If anybody is interested in a mission trip, leave your card and put you on the list. All right, it's not till next May. If anybody wants the rest of the PowerPoint, I'm more than happy to give it to you because I didn't get a chance to talk too much on marketing, but I'll be back in the future and we'll talk on how to build a practice from inside out. Love and appreciate you guys. Thanks for listening to me. Thank you.